Welcome. Thank you ever so much for joining us on this beautiful afternoon. I'm sure there's a few other things you'd probably rather be doing, but thank you for taking a few moments out of your day to invest in your future and to listen to what I've got to say. So my name is Isabel Clark. I am, as it says on the slide there, a senior lecturer in business. I'm also the postgraduate admissions tutor for the business school. My title really kind of covers a whole range of things. My specialism is actually public relations and event management, so I mainly teach public relations at Worcester, but I have been involved in teaching other elements of the business course as well. So I say I'm a lecturer in business, but I do teach all kinds of other things. So we're just going to go through the slides today, and I say I'm not going to talk at you for ages, because I know it's really difficult to concentrate when sessions go on too long. So I'm going to try and keep it brief, but obviously give you as much information as I can in order to help you make an informed decision, or at least to give you some food for thought when you're considering going to study in higher education. So we'll go through, what are the benefits, why study at a university. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Worcester Business School, but don't worry, it's not a hard sell. It's just used as an example to give you a little bit of context. We're then going to talk about the different types of jobs available with a business degree. To be honest with you, a lot of graduate jobs don't necessarily ask for a specific degree, but if you are looking to go into something like accountancy, for example, then you are going to be needing to do something quite specific. My first degree was in social anthropology, and anyone who's interested, I shall tell you all about that at some point. And I've ended up teaching public relations and marketing. I worked in PR for many, many years. So don't worry if you don't know yet what you want to do, or if you're not sure about choosing business or whatever it might be. It often doesn't matter too much. It's more about being able to demonstrate your ability to commit to a degree, to achieve a degree, and that's what employers are looking for. I'm going to talk you through some of the business courses available, and then I'm going to give you a chance to ask me any questions. And don't know why, but my kind of bar here is right across my slides, so forgive me if I can't see the bottom of them. So why go to university? Well, we're going to hit you straight away with the kind of, the monetary reasons. There are obviously lots of other reasons, but I know that many people think about university as a way of enhancing their career prospects, of being able to achieve perhaps higher paid and more senior jobs, and that is certainly the case. Obviously, there are always going to be examples of people who have achieved greatness and never been to university. A lot of entrepreneurs who become very wealthy, they've never been to university, a lot of them. So, it's not the only route, but for the majority of people, gaining a degree, at least a first degree, is going to help you to get that better kind of level of job. And the numbers on here are just indicative, really. Obviously, they're quite general, but just to give you an idea that an average salary for a non-graduate currently is around £24,000 a year. For graduates, it goes up at 10,000. Then obviously for postgraduates, you're looking at an even higher level of remuneration. So I'm not going to try and sell you postgraduate just yet. I know you're still thinking about what you're going to do for your first degree. But it is worth bearing in mind that obviously, there are lots and lots of graduates out there on the market, and you need to find a way to differentiate yourself. So when you are thinking about going into the job market, what is it about you that makes you different from a lot of the other graduates? And that could be that you've done some postgraduate study, or it could be that you've been involved in particular sports and societies, that you've done volunteering, you've done some extracurricular kind of awards. There's lots and lots of things you can consider once you've got to university that you can then start to use to kind of build what I would call your personal brand, which is a way of differentiating yourself from all the competitors in the market. So, but just have a think about, say, those figures there, and you'll see how important a degree can be if you are looking to advance up the career ladder. But on top of all of that, obviously, it's important. We all need to earn some money to survive, but there are lots of other things that are really important about your university experience. Top of the list, of course, is increasing your knowledge. So becoming knowledgeable in your subject, becoming, often an expert in your subject. So if you are choosing to study, I don't know, marketing, for example, when you go to your university course and you get taught all these different elements of marketing, you get the chance to apply those in, activities and in your assignments. And you come out with, obviously, with a real knowledge that you can apply to then your career search. So increasing your knowledge in itself is a really big part of the university experience. If you then decide that you want to continue your studies, you may even want to go into academia, where go into researching, etc. So often that kind of quest for knowledge, that thirst for knowledge, that ability to gain knowledge can be your kind of your overarching ambition, really. But it is a really big part of your degree course. On top of that, it's also around building independence and self-confidence. Now, I'm a great believer in this as being a very, very important part of your university experience. It has changed somewhat since I was at university, which was many, many moons ago, whereby a lot of people, or most people, often sort of went away from their home to study. So it became not just a case of going to uni, but it was often the first time people had lived on their own, had to budget, had to kind of manage their own finances, and manage their own lives, and organise themselves on their own. And that really does help you to become independent and self-confident. I know it's more difficult these days because we have to think about the cost of living and the tuition fees, and a lot of students do choose to stay at home, but that shouldn't stop you from getting involved in a lot of the activities at university, which can contribute to building those qualities. Independent study is a big part of what we do at university. It's not just about going to a class, listening to your lecturer, and then going away and kind of forgetting about it. We do encourage you to become independent in the work that you do, to engage in activities which help you to build these things like independent self-confidence. So it's kind of it can sit within your studies, but it can also sit outside. There's lots of other things you can do which can, as I say, contribute to building those skills, and also developing essential employability skills. And we have a set of what we call graduate attributes, which our courses and the modules within our courses align with those. So we specifically state often that we help you to develop some really important employability skills, things like being digitally competent, which is a really big part of business these days. You can't go into any job really without having some digital knowledge. You guys are probably more digitally competent than I am. I know my 12-year-old son certainly is, but it's understanding how to use those skills, apply those skills in the marketplace, and that again can be something that really sets you apart from your competitors. We also look at things like problem solving. Now, problem solving is a bit of an overarching phrase, because you could argue that kind of everything we do day to day is really based in problem solving. But when we talk about problem solving at university, we're talking about setting you a task and asking you to kind of almost go out and research that, discuss, debate, find out, an answer to that problem. And again, these are really important skills you can take with you into the workplace. So we do try and make sure that our courses are relevant to the kind of skills that employers are looking for. We have a very, very good relationship with a lot of employers around Worcester and beyond, and we consult with them regularly to find out, what it is that they're looking for in their graduates. So your course, the knowledge, the academic knowledge you get from your courses is a big part, but there's also lots of other things that you can benefit from by going to university. And there are lots of things to consider as well when you are starting to think about applying to university. And it's not just about what the topic is, what the courses you want to study. One of the most important things is location. Where do you want to be? Is there a lot of students want to go to London, for example, because it's exciting. They want to go to a big city, Manchester, Birmingham, because of all of the kind of additional opportunities and, you know, activities that you can find in those cities. So it might be that you think, actually, where I am or where I'm going to be studying is the most important thing for me. It was for me. I was very lucky enough to get into Cambridge University, and I really, really wanted to go there, to the point where I didn't really do the course that I wanted to do at other universities. The location was the deciding factor for me. And you might well already have some ideas about where you'd like to go and study. Some of you might want to stay at home and study locally. Some of you might be desperate to get away as far as you possibly can, you know, go up to kind of Aberdeen and study miles away from home and family, and have a whole new life up there. So that's one of the key things to consider. Course content is really important, not just the kind of title of the course, but, you know, you can go into obviously university websites and see really quite a lot of detail about the kind of content of those courses at module level. So we call modules, obviously, these are the kind of different parts of the course that all fit together to make your degree. And you will have core modules. I'll talk about these a bit later on. You'll have core ones, and you'll have ones that you can choose. So it's worth, when you're looking at universities, really drilling down into their content and seeing what kind of things they're offering to you at course level. And also whether there is any opportunity for specialisms, for kind of crossing over into different disciplines, etc. That must be something that's really interesting for you. You might want to, you might be quite focused on entry requirements. So what does the university ask for? What do you think you're going to achieve at your A level or whatever other exams you're doing to get into higher education? And that might, you might think, well, I'm not sure I'm going to get anything more than maybe a couple of B's and a C, or I might be getting 3 A stars. And that will probably direct you to a point to the kind of university you want to apply to. One of the things that crops up as being a really important consideration for a lot of students, we find this at our open days, a lot of questions about accommodation. Where am I going to live? You know, that is, particularly if you're going to study, you know, away from home and you need to find some accommodation. And there are students that live quite locally to Worcester that still choose to come into the student accommodation because they just want to have that experience. So finding out about accommodation is very important, and looking perhaps, you know, when you go on open days, if you've been on any open days, if you haven't been on open days yet, you know, do go out and visit some universities, and they will show you their accommodation. They will give you some accommodation tours, and you'll get a sense of the type of accommodation that's available at different places. I've already talked about employability, how important that is, and you can find out, most universities will publish their kind of employability stats, how many graduates are in employment, for example, after graduating. That might be really important to you, finding out, you know, what the value of that degree is in the workplace. And then sports and societies, you know, that sounds, maybe you think, well, that's not really important, is it, when I'm looking to university? Absolutely it is, because that's what makes your university experience more than just you know, sitting in the library reading books and writing essays and researching. It's about the whole university experience. And if you are already involved in some particular sport that you would like to pursue, if you are looking to try something new, for example, or if you've got a particular interest. So I was in a meeting last week where one of our student union officers came to talk to the students, and she was saying about how many different societies there are at Worcester. And if there isn't a society for what you want, you can start one up. So often there is a student union rep or student union staff who can help you to find the societies that you're interested in, or to, you know, try out or continue with sports that you want to play. And that is a really key part of your university experience. So I say it's not just about your, you know, your academic work, it's also about your kind of leisure time as well. So I'll just tell a little bit, that was obviously quite generic stuff, so I'll just tell a little bit about Worcester Business School. We are based in central Worcester. The university has a number of campuses. The main campus is at a place called St John's, which is kind of the other side of the river from where we are in the city centre. And the business school is based on City Campus, which was the very old Worcester Royal Infirmary. So it was an old hospital building. So it's a really lovely building, very historic building. And so we are kind of down near to the racecourse in Worcester. So it's really central. You can easily walk into the city centre and, you know, access all of the amenities and facilities that Worcester has to offer. There is a map there that will mean absolutely nothing to you, but it just gives you a sense of the layout. You know, we've got lots of green space. A lot of the accommodation is based at City Campus as well. And as I say, you can walk out of the kind of main gates and just kind of wander down the road and you're in the city centre. So it's a really nice location. Some great facilities, great teaching rooms, you know, cafe, all kinds of stuff that make life more enjoyable. But so you can access the city really easily. These are the accommodation blocks which are at the city campus. They are quite new, as you can see. They are divided into self-catering flats. So you get your own kind of, there's some shared space, but also you get your own private space, private room. I can't remember how many there are exactly on the campus. There's certainly a few, I think maybe 4. And there is accommodation at the campus as well, but these are the ones which are based at the city campus. And the other kind of USP, I suppose, or a USP for the business school is that we are right next door to the Hive Library in Worcester, which I think is celebrating its 10-year anniversary this year. I feel like it's only just opened, but it's obviously been around for a few years. And the Hive is an amazing building. It's a beautiful building, not to everybody's taste, but it's a beautiful building. And it is kind of one of the first or one of the only libraries which is both public and university. So it's a really kind of shared space. Lots of facilities in there, lots of study areas, lots of leisure areas, loads and loads of books, obviously, loads of access to online resources. We have our own librarians who help students from the business school. So they are based at the Hive and you can make appointments to see them and they can talk you through to accessing things like accessing online resources, or to find any books that you might need. So the Hive is a really, really lovely space, a really nice space for study, I say, and for kind of recreation as well. So I mentioned that one of the things that you might be considering when you're searching universities and looking at universities is around employment and employment opportunities. And our stats are pretty good in the sense that nearly 95% of our graduates are either in work or in further study 15 months after graduating. So we've got a pretty good record of getting our students into employment or into further study. We have also been winners of awards around equality, diversity and inclusion. What's not on the slide here is that we are also working very hard to focus on sustainability, ethical business, and these are really important areas that we are working on at the moment in the business school. So trying to embed those ideas around sustainability, and being ethical into our courses. And we're also in the top 20 for student experience. So I think university tables are helpful to a point, but if you just look at a table that gives you the kind of, top to bottom universities from number 1 to 120, I think it is 121. That's only really a snapshot because there will also be different, they'll rate differently depending on the course that you want to study, things like employment. So it's worth just digging a little bit deeper. I think Worcester is somewhere around the 90s, which is not too bad for one of the kind of new universities. But we do score much better on some of our courses particularly. We've also always been very, very strong for things like education, nursing, paramedicine and biosciences, things like that. So loads and loads of students studying health sciences and things like that at Worcester. business school is developing. We're really having a huge increase in postgraduate applications this year. So we're becoming very popular with postgraduates. So it's a really interesting student cohort, really interesting student population. Lots of buzz around the campus. It's a really nice place to be. It's not too big, so you know where you are, and so you can access the city really easily. Okay, so let's just have a quick look at our courses. And we have what's called a portfolio structure. So you will have a set of core modules, which will run across the courses, and then you'll be able to choose or have allocated optional modules. Before we go into that, though, I just wanted to think about, or for you to think about, some of the careers in business. Our business is such a general term, you know, business can mean anything really. And it's not even that you can say it's always commercial, because there are lots of jobs in not-for-profit organisations, charities, public sector organisations, which will still count as being kind of business opportunities. So business can cover a whole range of different disciplines, different job roles, everything from something which you know would obviously equate with business, a business analyst, marketing communications manager. I was a marketing communications manager for many years, and a PR manager and director. And you know, you do have to have business skills to operate in that environment as well. Human resources is obviously sometimes called talent management these days, or talent acquisition. You'll see lots of different sort of buzzwords for some of these career paths. Human resources, I'm sure you know, is actually about recruiting and managing your employees, but increasingly it is about retaining those employees and about communicating with them as well. So things like internal communications often fall within that area. Digital is becoming obviously extremely desirable. So I'm not sure if any of you have looked at any kind of job specs or job adverts on places like LinkedIn, and you'll find that often they ask for digital skills. Whatever the job is, digital skills are becoming so important. So if you are able to, you know, both through your university work career and also then perhaps through your personal life or your professional life alongside your studies, develop those skills, that can be very, very beneficial. Accountancy is a quite specific part of business. So there are plenty of people who are not numerical at all, and I count myself as one of those. But there are those that absolutely love numbers, that find numbers to be really, really kind of fascinating and easy to cope with, because they are very kind of right or wrong. So you get, there are people who are very much drawn to things like accountancy, finance, but that again can still come under the umbrella of business. And then there are increasing numbers of roles. I mentioned to you about our business school being focused on sustainability. You'll often see jobs now coming up for sustainability managers, or for social responsibility managers, corporate social responsibility managers. These are jobs where people are being tasked with managing the kind of impact, I suppose, an organisation, managing its impact on the environment. It's things like how diverse it is, how inclusive it is. All of these things often fall under sustainability, and this is a path that's becoming, say, more and more evident as we kind of move forward, because you know the general view is that businesses have to be more responsible these days. They have to be able to recognise the impact they're having and hopefully do something about it. So this is obviously just a snapshot. There are thousands of jobs in business. You know, pretty much anything you want to do, you can find within, you know, within a business of some kind. So, but it is worth having a little think about perhaps what you want to do ultimately when you're applying to uni. You know, what kind of thing you're interested in. do you have to follow a specific path of study for that? Or if not, you'd have a little bit more flexibility. But it is worth kind of thinking, what is it you'd like to do? I knew from quite a young age that I wanted to work in public relations. And, I took a bit of a roundabout route to get in there. But, that was what I wanted to do ultimately. And my studies, although not maybe ultimately applicable to marketing, public relations, were very much about people and how people behave, which is really, really important in that kind of work. So, have a think about what it is you'd like to do. What's your kind of end game? What do you really think about what you'd really like to do? Or if you've got no idea at all, you've got the freedom to choose a degree that just interests you. So we have quite flexible degrees. I say we have business at the core, and then you can have kind of with different things. So you can do business with finance, business with human resource management, business with marketing, and you can do pure business management. There's one under there that I can't see. We are bringing in some new courses as well, focusing on digital skills. So I think on the next slide we've got, oh no, this is our modules, but this is the kind of structure, if you like, of our business degree, in that you have often a shared first year. So whatever business course or whichever business kind of pathway you're taking, you will have those core modules in your first year, and everybody will do those. So everyone will do a bit of everything in the first year. And then as you go and progress through to year 2 and year 3, you get more opportunity to specialise in your chosen path. So we only have one core module at year 2, and the others are all options depending on the course that you take. We do offer placements, so we offer the chance for you to go and study abroad if you wish, or to go and work for a year, paid, which is often very appealing. It's obviously been very difficult during the last couple of years with COVID, but we are now starting to see more interest now in students wanting to go off and do that placement. You don't have to do it. In fact, you don't have to decide whether you want to do it or not until you get to the end of your second year. So there's no pressure on you to, to say when you apply that's what you want to do. You can say you want to and change your mind. You can say you don't want to and still change your mind and do work. We have a fantastic support department of people who will find you placements if you're struggling to find them. They've got great contacts with employers, lots of opportunities. So if you do decide you want to do a placement, there's lots and lots of help and support there to help you find the one that you want. And then your final year, you specialise really in your own chosen sort of degree path. So there's lots of flexibility. So once you got through the kind of first year, there's a shared first year, and that's quite common at a lot of universities. I know I used to work for University of Staffordshire, and they have a shared first year for a lot of their courses. So it often just gives you a chance to have to try out lots of different things. So you do a little bit of business, a bit of marketing, a bit of digital, a bit of finance, and then as you go through that, you can specialise in what it is you're particularly interested in. And these are some of the examples of modules. They won't mean a lot to you, but just to give you an idea of the sort of depth and breadth of choice that you have, and the different things that are studied at different levels. Level 5 is second year, level 6 is your third year. When I first started teaching 10 years ago, I remember sitting in meetings and people talking about level 5 and level 6 and level 4, and I was like, what are they on about? It's basically your first year, second year, third year. So level 4 is your first year, 5 second year, 6 is your final year, and then 7 obviously into postgraduate. So don't be kind of put off by all the kind of jargon. That's all that those mean, those levels of study. And you'll see there some examples of the courses that we offer, and you'll see there is a wide range of choices really. So my modules are on there. My PR and campaigning module that I teach at level 5, and my level 6 module there is the Spin Doctors, Lobbyists and Influencers. So you don't have to be doing the PR course to study those. You can choose those. I've got a lot of I've had a few students this year who are actually studying business with kind of accounting and had chosen to do a PR module. It's a bit of light relief, I think, away from all the figures. So there is a lot of opportunity for you just to try something, just do a module in something a bit different if you want to do that. We do offer specialist degrees. So alongside the business offering, you can, from the start, focus very specifically on accounting and finance. That's what you want to do. We offer a course in graphic design, advertising, marketing, which obviously those three things all link together quite closely. We have a course which focuses on international business management. We have a degree, marketing, advertising and public relations. So I teach quite a few courses on that one. And as I mentioned earlier on, we are focusing or have developed new courses which have much more of a digital focus. I'm not sure whether they are on UCAS yet. I think they are, and we'll be probably recruiting from next year, to be honest. So if you're interested in those, then obviously it's a good idea to go and have a look at the website. There should be some information there about those. So if you do have an idea of what you want to do, and it is more specific than just business, then there is a range of different degrees that you can have a look at. I've mentioned employability a few times, and I just wanted to kind of emphasize this because this is something that it should be quite an important part of your studies, is understanding what you are learning and how you can relate that to your employability or use that as a way to enhance your employability in the future. That placement, although it can be quite daunting to take a year out into a placement, it historically and statistically has been shown to be so valuable to students and really enhances their employability. Many of them actually get offered work within the organisation where they've had their placement, or they meet people within that network that allows them to get work through that, directly relating to the placement they did. So it can be really, really beneficial. If you don't kind of use it on that basis, when you come back into study in your final year after doing your kind of placement, and we do notice that students who've been on placement have, they appear much more confident, much more knowledgeable. They can really understand and relate their studies to the workplace. So it is a really great experience. As I said to you, you haven't got to decide about that until you get to that point in your studies. Options to work or study abroad. Again, this can be great for confidence building. I never did this, and part of me wishes that I had. We do have partnerships with universities overseas, and we do have kind of exchange programs whereby students can go and spend a semester or year studying abroad. That might be something you're interested in. If you feel like you've got some really great ideas for a new product or a new service, that might be something that you would like to take us up on. And you can also gain credibility with professional accreditation and membership. So many of the courses will have professional accreditation embedded within them. Things like membership of the CIPR, for example, or the marketing bodies or HR bodies, the professional bodies, accountancy. You can gain this accreditation as part of your studies, which means you don't have to then go out and do additional qualifications once you've graduated. So that can really help you to give you a kind of a stepping stone into your chosen career. Right, so I wasn't going to talk to you for too long, so I'm going to finish shortly. I'll try and finish just the next few minutes. So I said that we have really good relationships with a lot of organisations, and we do work with the organisations on this slide as a way of organising placements, but also some of our students have gone to work for these organisations as well. So you can see some really big names there, and we have good relationships with a lot of kind of businesses which allows us to, I'd say, to place students to really kind of work with those businesses to give our students the very best opportunities. And I think that's it. Has anybody got anything they'd like to ask me? You're going to be very quiet now.
Thank you so much, Isabel. That was really, really interesting to listen to. Some great advice there for students, I think. This week, they're all sort of working on their UCAS applications and starting some research into these things. And I think that type of information, what you said, particularly to begin with, you know, the general things to think about is really important. So thank you ever so much for that. Students, if you do have any questions, please do feel free to pop those into the chat function. My colleague Jane will probably pop some links in that will be hopefully of use for you as well, just based on what we've been talking about today. But what I found was really interesting, Isabel, we did have a question prior from a student, which you may or may not sort of, you know, have a great deal to put into that, but it was advice really with regards to sort of university as opposed to versus sort of a degree apprenticeship route. And do you come across that? Do you have sort of any thoughts on that and how students are?
Yeah, I mean, I think degree apprenticeships have become really, really popular, and it's not difficult to see why, you know, because you are getting very specific training whilst you're also getting a degree, you're getting paid. You know, they are very, very popular and very, you know, I think really great for employability. But it is worth kind of being realistic because they are also, it's very competitive. It's very kind of quite difficult to get onto a lot of these courses. So I would say if you are thinking about that and you don't, for some reason, that get onto that, don't be disappointed, because you know it's not that if you don't get onto that you can't do so, because a lot of universities, including Worcester, will, I'd say, will offer a lot of employability help, placements, you know, those kind of things often can help you in a similar kind of way. But it's difficult because I think, you know, let's say the apprenticeships are clearly, there's a lot of very clear reasons why they are so popular and becoming more so. But it often depends on the type of thing you want to do, you know, the type of job you want to get, the type of subject you're interested in doing. But I think they're great. I would certainly encourage people, if they are interested in that path, to certainly look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is one, and I think you're quite right in that, you know, degree apprenticeships are incredibly competitive, and I think it does really require students to know very much what they want to do. They're very much being sort of, you know, trained and qualified for specific roles quite often.
Yeah. Absolutely. Whereas a more general degree will give you a little bit more flexibility, a bit more time to think about what you want to do, perhaps. And there's no reason why you can't then apply for a kind of management apprenticeship or some apprenticeship once you've got your degree. So it doesn't preclude that.
And what I thought was really interesting was it was a question that I got myself before we started this, which was about that shared first year. I think that's a really nice way of allowing students to have that flexibility. To choose the options and the modules that they really feel are going to be right for them, because I think that can be quite difficult with something like business to be able to really know what to choose beforehand, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's often only by having a bit of experience of certain things that you can say, oh, I've really enjoyed that, I'd like to go on with that, or I never want to do that again in my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the worst module I've ever done. So it can have, it can have a multitude of benefits. But I think giving a taste of different things is often really, really helpful, as you say, in choosing how you want to move forward.
That's a great thing. And I think, you know, what students in this particular year 12, they've really missed out on the work experience opportunities that would have usually taken place whilst they were at high school, or perhaps this year because of COVID and things. And so actually, again, it's perhaps sometimes not knowing what they like and what they don't like, because actually work experience really can help you with that.
Yes.
Do you have any sort of advice for things that students in year 12 perhaps could do to sort of start to, you know, set themselves apart
I think things like volunteering are always really popular with both with universities and employers. You know, being able to show that you've been able to kind of give something back, that you've got involved in something. You know, there's obviously things like the Duke of Edinburgh Award and things like that, which are more kind of formalised. But any kind of volunteering is often seen as something that's really really valued. And we actually run what we call the Worcester Award for students at the university, where they can actually kind of log those volunteering hours, and they can actually say formalise those and use those as a way of contributing to that award, that then can obviously go onto their CV. So I think, you know, anything like that you can do. Anything, you know, if you can get any kind of job, any kind of work, you can get work experience. But if that's not going to be easy for you, then I would say, you know, really work on those digital skills. I think that's really important. You know, we all spend so much time staring at our phones and looking at our social media networks, you know, but use that time, have a think about how those things are being used. And, you know, everything now almost we kind of expect to see in a digital sphere, and if you can start to develop your own skills around that independently or as part of a job role or volunteering role, I think that'll be really valuable as well.
Yeah, that's so important, and we really do encourage students, yes, to get work experience and absolutely to volunteer, and you know, at this age they often are, you know, taking part in part-time roles, and you know, many of the employers we speak to really do say how important that is for developing those transferable skills at a later date. So that always does, you know, come in handy. And absolutely developing those digital skills is really, really vital as well. So that's really, really helpful. I don't think there's any questions from the students. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else on there that we need to go through. There is something I'd like to promote, if I may. We're doing another next Wednesday, the 29th, where we have an ex-student who's actually studying a business management course. She's at Swansea, I believe, but she's coming back to talk to our students as an alumni, so that might be of interest to some of our students who may be listening to this as well. So that's similar time, 5 till 6, but next Wednesday the 29th, and I think there's a link in the chat if anybody wants to book onto that. But if there's no other questions, I'll wrap this up. Isabel, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. I'm just putting my email address in the chat.
Fabulous.
So if anyone's got any questions, if they don't feel that they want to ask them now, or, you know, if they've got something they want to, if they think about a bit further on, or when they get a bit further down the line with their applications, do drop me an email. I don't mind if you're applying to Worcester or not, but if you've got any questions about, you know, what you need to do, or you know, any kind of advice you might like, then please do get in touch with me. It's not a problem at all. Just I'm more than happy to give you some general advice if that will be helpful.
That's fantastic. We really do appreciate that. That will be a really valuable resource for our students. So thank you so much, Isabel, and thank you for giving your time this afternoon. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting us, and good luck everybody in your applications. I hope you get where you want to be.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, Isabel.
And you. Thanks, guys. Bye bye.
Bye bye.